In 1884, Germany colonized what is now Namibia and declared it terra nullius, empty land, free for the taking. But the Herero and Nama peoples had lived there for centuries. They had established grazing territories, trade networks, political systems, and thriving pastoral economies across the region. Germany knew this. They signed treaties with Herero chiefs recognizing their sovereignty and land rights. Then they systematically violated every single agreement. What followed was the 20th century's first genocide, a calculated extermination that killed over 100,000 people and pioneered techniques the Nazis would later use in Europe. This is the story they don't teach, the empty land myth that justified mass murder, and why Germany didn't apologize for 117 years. Chapter 1. The Lie. When Germany arrived in 1884, they found the Herero and Nama occupying vast territories across what they called German Southwest Africa. The Herero were pastoralists with sophisticated cattle-based economies. A single cow was property. It was currency, social contract, and political capital. Complex ownership agreements bound families and clans together through livestock sharing that maintained social harmony and economic stability. The Nama were equally organized, skilled traders and pastoralists who controlled key water sources and trade routes across the southern territories. Both groups had centralized leadership. The Herero under paramount chiefs like Samuel Maharero, the Nama under leaders like Hendrik Witbooi. These were nations with governance structures, diplomatic relationships, and defined territories. Germany acknowledged this reality. Between 1885 and 1890, they signed protection treaties with Herero chiefs. These treaties formally recognized Herero sovereignty, land rights, and political authority. One treaty explicitly states, the chief and his people retain their rights to their land and cattle. But Germany had no intention of honoring these agreements. Within years, German settlers began seizing the best grazing land. They pushed Herero and Nama communities into marginal areas. They imposed taxes payable in cattle, forcing people to sell their herds to German traders at artificially low prices. When Herero and Nama resisted, citing the treaties Germany had signed, German authorities responded with violence. By 1904, the situation was unbearable. The Herero had lost over half their land. Their cattle herds were decimated. Their chiefs were routinely humiliated by German settlers who faced no consequences for violence against Africans. In January 1904, the Herero rose in rebellion. They attacked German farms and military posts, carefully avoiding killing German women, children, and missionaries, following rules of war that Germany would soon utterly abandon. Chapter 2. The Extermination Order. Germany's response wasn't military suppression. It was genocide. Kaiser Wilhelm II sent Lieutenant General Lothar von Trotha with explicit instructions to crush the rebellion with maximum force. On October 2, 1904, von Trotha issued the Vernichtungsbefehl, the Extermination Order. Inside German territory, every Herero, with or without a gun, with or without cattle, will be shot. I will no longer accept women and children but will drive them back to their people or let them be shot at. Let that sink in. An official military order calling for the extermination of an entire people. Men, women, children. Written, signed, distributed to German troops. Von Trotha wasn't even hiding his intentions. He wrote to the German General Staff, I believe that the nation as such should be annihilated, or if this was not possible by tactical measures, have to be expelled from the country. This was clearly systematic extermination. The German strategy was methodical. After defeating Herero forces at the Battle of Waterberg in August 1904, German troops pursued the survivors. They drove them into the Omahik Desert and sealed off all water sources. German patrols surrounded the desert. Anyone trying to escape was shot. Anyone trying to reach water was shot. Tens of thousands of Herero, men, women, children, elderly, died of thirst in the desert over the following months. Those who survived the desert were worse off. German forces established concentration camps, not prisoner of war camps. Concentration camps designed to work people to death. Shark Island concentration camp had a mortality rate of over 50%. People were given minimal food, forced into hard labor, and left to die from exhaustion, disease, and starvation. German medical officers conducted experiments on prisoners. They took measurements, conducted studies on racial differences, and collected skulls for research in Berlin museums. The Nama faced similar treatment when they resisted in 1905. Their leader Hendrik Witbooi fought until his death in 1905. Nama survivors were rounded up, placed in camps, and subjected to the same conditions. By 1908, it was over. 80% of the Herero were dead. 50% of the Nama were dead. Over 100,000 people exterminated in 4 years. Chapter 3. The Cover. Here's where the empty land myth becomes truly evil. Throughout the genocide, Germany maintained publicly that they were civilizing unused territory, that they were suppressing primitive uprisings, that the deaths were unfortunate consequences of necessary military action. They didn't call it genocide. They called it colonial krieg, colonial warfare. Even as they issued extermination orders, even as they drove people into the desert to die of thirst, even as they worked prisoners to death in camps, Germany claimed they were bringing order to chaos, development to empty land. The international community barely noticed. Other colonial powers were doing similar things in their territories. The concept of genocide didn't even exist legally. It wouldn't be defined until it affected them, until after the Holocaust. But Germany went further. They systematically collected evidence of their own crimes, then hid it. German soldiers took photographs. Thousands of images documenting the genocide, skeletal prisoners in camps, mass graves, executed civilians, people dying of thirst in the desert. These photos weren't hidden. They were published in German newspapers, sent home to families, collected as souvenirs. The German public knew. The government knew. Nobody stopped it. After World War I, when Germany lost its colonies, they buried the documentation. Archives were restricted. The genocide was written out of official histories. For decades, Germany claimed the deaths were unfortunate casualties of colonial conflict, not systematic extermination. Meanwhile, German museums held onto their trophies. Over 20,000 Herero and Nama skulls and bones were shipped to Germany for racial science research. Many remain in German institutions today, despite decades of repatriation demands. Chapter 4. The Blueprint. The Herero and Nama genocide was a horrific crime and was used as a blueprint. The techniques Germany pioneered in Namibia became standard practice. Concentration camps designed to kill through labor and starvation. Shark Island and other camps in Namibia directly influenced the design of Nazi concentration camps 30 years later. Medical experiments on prisoners classified as racially inferior. The skull measurements and biological studies in Namibia prefigured Joseph Mengel's experiments at Auschwitz. Extermination orders targeting entire peoples. Von Trotha's Vernichtungsbefehl was the template for Nazi extermination policies. The use of empty land ideology to justify mass murder. Lebensraum, the Nazi concept of living space requiring the removal of inferior races, was just the Namibian model scaled up. Some of the same military officers who served in Namibia later held positions in Nazi Germany. Hermann Göring's father was the first governor of German Southwest Africa. The connection isn't coincidental. The Herero and Nama genocide was where Germany learned that industrial-scale extermination was possible, and that the world wouldn't stop them. Chapter 5. The Reckoning. For over a century, Germany refused to acknowledge what happened. They called it unfortunate colonial violence. They said both sides committed atrocities. They claimed historical context made judgment impossible. Herero and Nama descendants fought for recognition. They preserved oral histories. They passed down the trauma. They demanded their ancestors' remains back from German museums. In 2004, 100 years after the genocide, Germany finally returned the first skulls. But they wouldn't call it genocide. In 2015, Germany officially acknowledged it was genocide. But they refused reparations. In 2021, 117 years after the Extermination Order, Germany formally apologized. But the apology came with a condition. They would provide development aid, not reparations. 1.1 billion euros over 30 years. roughly 36 million euros per year. For 2 nations. For over 100,000 murdered people. Germany spends more on a single military base annually. And they still refuse to call it reparations, because legally recognizing reparations might open them to lawsuits from other former colonies. The Herero and Nama rejected the offer. They weren't consulted in the negotiations. The money goes to the Namibian government, not directly to affected communities. The fight continues. Herero and Nama representatives have filed lawsuits in international courts. They are demanding direct reparations to descendant communities, full return of all ancestral remains, official recognition in German education curriculum, formal apology from the German parliament, not just the government. So far, Germany has resisted all of it. The Herero and Nama genocide matters for 3 reasons. First, because 100,000 people were systematically murdered and deserve to be remembered by name, by nation, by the lives they would have lived. Second, because the empty land myth wasn't unique to Namibia. It was the colonial playbook used across Africa, the Americas, Australia, anywhere indigenous peoples had to be erased to justify theft. Third, because the techniques Germany pioneered in Namibia came home to Europe 3 decades later. The Holocaust didn't emerge from nowhere. It had a testing ground in Africa. The Herero and Nama are still fighting for justice. Still demanding their ancestors' remains. Still correcting the record that their land was never empty. It was stolen, and they were murdered for resisting. This is their story. Not colonial conflict. Not unfortunate violence. Genocide. It was planned, documented, and denied for 117 years. This is the Dossier. One truth a day until our history stands tall again. Follow the Dossier.